This is a presentation on how Datacom can help mid to large size enterprises within Australia. First off, we're going to talk a little bit around Bob. Bob is CIO or CTO within a mid to large sized enterprise. And what we're going to do is understand a little bit around what Bob's working world looks like and how Datacom can help. So we've divided Bob's world up into 4 parts. We have business demand / business value, today, tomorrow, and people. Now, Bob's world is wider than that, but we wanted to focus on these 4 topics. So the first piece we're going to look at is business demand, and that's really made up of those C-suite people. So the CFO, who's going to be concentrating on that dollar sign, reducing IT budgets year on year. The CSOs can be concentrating on compliance and data sovereignty, ensuring that we're adhering to policy. The CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, might be focused on how we deliver the products and services in innovative new ways to his customers to help his team sell more. And the CMO, who will be interested in consuming those insights to allow them to get a better understanding of who their customer is and how they buy. There's a number of other C-suite people who sit in that space, but that's just the 4 that we're calling out today. We're then going to look at today's world. And today's world really be made up of that lights on activity, ensuring that the SLAs are in place of the systems that are up and running today. The ITSM space, making sure that things like change management and policy are adhered to properly. And then the development space, ensuring that we're evolving the platforms that are in place and in play today to ensure that we are keeping pace with the market and delivering value to our customers. Now, what we know is that Bob's actually spending 80% of his time in today's world and only 8% of his time in the business value, business demand space. Now, for Bob to really get a seat at that table and offer that value back to his business, what we really need to be focusing on is how do we reduce that 80% and increase that 8%. Then we're going to look at tomorrow's world and what that looks like. So we look at things like trends and top-down pressure, things like IoT, DevOps, AI, ML, and it's a case of, is Bob understanding how those pieces play into his world and play into his today's situation to allow him to deliver on these challenges here. It's also that bottom-up pressure, things like Docker and Kubernetes, and pressures from his team who are sitting here today saying we should be using these tools are better, but is the platform ready to be using those tools? Are they development only or are they ready for production? And then the public cloud space. We've got Azure, AWS, Google and Alibaba. And what does that multi-cloud strategy look like? But not just a multi-cloud strategy, but how does that play in a hybrid cloud strategy with your legacy applications as well? And then we look down towards the people side of things. Now, the hiring side of people has become very hard within the technology space. What we found was 3 out of 5 jobs 5 years ago didn't exist on LinkedIn. Now, what that meant was you might be trying to hire these people, but they quite literally do not exist within the market. Now, what that's meant is there's a huge competitive field for hiring these people. So the price tag on hiring has gone through the roof at current. Once you've hired, you have to be able to train. And being able to work out where you train those people on either today's world or tomorrow's world is a challenge within itself. And then the retention part. Now, because these people are in such demand, because the people don't exist, what that meant is retention has become very tricky, where most businesses are happy to offer 5% to a developer year-on-year pay rise. If they were to go to a new business, they can get up to 30%. Now, this is the scenario that Bob finds himself in and some of the pains that he goes through day to day. What we've also found in the cloud revolution is that technology's become on and off. You'll be able to flick it on, turn it off again at a switch. Now, that perception isn't necessarily correct, but a good example is within the CMO space of marketing tools. You might want to say, there's this new tool, I need it to be able to grow our business efficiently, and they might go to Bob, but Bob hasn't got time because he's spending a lot of his time here and a lot of his time here, that he might be able to say, I can't have that marketing tool up and running for 6 months. Now the CMO knows that if he goes on the website, signs up, he can start using that tool today. Now what that creates is a shadow IT piece, because that CMO will hide that from Bob and they'll actually start working in the shadows away from Bob's jurisdiction. Now that in itself, again, is a very problematic place for Bob to be. So when we look at this, we have to work out how can Datacom start to help Bob to manage this world better, reducing that figure so he can start getting a seat at the table and offering that higher business value. So we've broken it up into 5 different practice areas, starting off with Foundry. And the core of our Foundry is about delivering innovation. And a key word there is delivery. It's a case of how do we understand the challenges that the C-suite are going through. What we then do is really take the people who are on the ground, working with the customers, working with those tools, matching them up with the people who sit in the C-suite, and coming up with a number of solutions that could possibly work to solve that challenge. Now, the key word was delivery, and it's a case of not just the ideation and coming up with a number of ideas, but putting those ideas into a reality and actually forcing them through into a prototyping and actually into delivery and going live state to ensure that the value is received from those customers. We then go into the digital transformation space, and that's a case of how are we taking today's world into tomorrow's world to ensure we're solving the challenges that sit up here. And it's not just a case of how do we moving legacy applications into the public cloud, it's how do we actually digitalize the systems and the way we deliver outcomes today in a digital way to solve those business outcomes. And it's not just the customers, but it's how do we make our internal people happier as well to help retain staff and retain talent. The business applications is really key in a sense of it's the pieces that sit down here. It might be the ERP or the CRM systems that are in place, but they're really what should be delivering the insights to allow the people who sit up here to make data-driven decisions around where to drive and where the strategy behind what the business looks like. We then have the integration piece, and it's a case of how are we taking all of this world, tying it together and making sure that it's a seamless integration to ensure that we have consistent data sets. Again, allowing the people who are up here to make those data-driven decisions because there's confidence within the data that they have. And then the final piece we're looking at is the ITO space. And the ITO space is really where Datacom made a name. For over 50 years now, I've been running IT environments for enterprises. And it's a case of let us take care of running your IT so you can take care of running your business. Thank you very much.